Waters.
Here.
O'Kane.
Here.
Shaner. Here. Scott.
Here.
Moore.
Stand for a moment of silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go to the consent agenda today, items 2 through 14E. Consider these items passed unanimously unless a separate roll call vote is requested by a city council member. Anyone wanting to speak on an item on the agenda, please come up as I read that item. Always remember to state your name and address for the record. Anyone wanting to speak on an item not on the agenda, please come up under citizen concerns. I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
2 is a reading of the July 6th City Council minutes. 3 is a resolution appointing Ryan Collins as fire chief. Mr. Padmore.
Ryan, would you like to come on up? Formally introducing Ryan Collins, subject to your approval, as our next fire chief. Ryan has been with the Sioux City Fire Department since 2006 and has risen to the level of captain and is currently deputy fire marshal. We had a very arduous process for selection. As you may be aware, this is a civil service position by Iowa law, but in addition to the civil service testing process, we also included panels which included Local 7 Fire Association, the leadership team of department directors, as well as the command staff of the fire department. We had 7 tests. We had 4 that made the list, interviewed the top 2, and Ryan came out on top. Graduate of South Dakota State University with a business degree, ag business, and with that, I'd like to welcome Ryan as our new fire chief, subject to your approval, beginning September 2nd.
Kind of hard to vote for a jackrabbit when you're a coyote, but
I know. I like those jackrabbits.
See, I'm learning
We got
well.
one in our
I
family.
didn't engage in that.
go ahead. Tell us your story.
Well, I appreciate you allowing me to come before you. I'm going to make this very short. The intent is to come before you back in August 26th for Chief Everett's final council meeting. And at that time, I'll give a little bit longer speech. But I just want to say that I'm deeply appreciative of the members of Sioux City Fire, Chief Everett, Mr. Padmore, and having the confidence in me to take on this challenge. I'm incredibly excited. I'm very humbled, and just looking forward to progressing down that road and building upon that foundation that Chief Everett has laid for us. So, thank you. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Chief, you have anything?
I'd just like to commend City Manager Padmore and HR Director Bertrand on providing a comprehensive process that allowed us to find the next chief of Sioux City Fire Rescue. It was a great process. Our focus over the next week will be making sure we have a successful transition in process. I've known Chief Collins for a long time. I know he has a great vision for the department. I know him to be hardworking, smart, and dedicated to continuous improvement. He's a high character leader that will do a great job for you, Sioux City Fire Rescue, and the city as your next fire chief. Chief Collins will officially be atop the chain of command August 12th. From that time until I'm finished, I will act as an advisor, in an advisor capacity to him. We'll be back in front of you August 26th for ceremonial pinning. My last day will be Thursday, August 29th. I just want to thank you guys for your support and opportunity to serve as your fire chief for the last 16 years. It's been an honor, and I'm very proud of this department and our people. Thanks, and we'll see you the 26th.
Okay, thank you. 4 is a resolution appointing Julie Mahaney as city treasurer. Disappointing a lot of people today, aren't we?
You're right. Teresa Vitz, Finance Director, Mayor and Council. I just want to introduce Julie. It will be nothing as formal as fires, but Julie Mahaney, if you so approve today, will be appointed the City Treasurer. She's been in the Finance Department for about 3 years as an accounting reporting manager right now, and we're excited
Where'd she
to
go to
welcome
school?
her. Well, I'll let her tell you that. Went to US.
Got one vote.
So if you have any questions for Julie, but I just want to, you've seen her in front of council before, but she'll be in a dual role in her current role until we replace that person, replace her, and then she'll transition into the city treasurer role. So it'll take a little bit of time, but
Excellent.
You have
Job
you have
opening.
anything to say?
No, I really appreciate the opportunity. I've enjoyed being in the finance office and working for the city, and I'm going to do the best job I can going forward to keep things moving along.
Okay, good luck.
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution accepting all donations under $25,000 for the reporting period of April through June. Resolution rejecting the bids received in the wastewater treatment plant short-term improvement project. 7's a resolution adopting plans and specs for the water treatment plant short-term improvement projects. Mr. Pingle, what are the changes? Because I'm not a guy that votes for just rebidding because the bids came too high.
Yeah, so Tom Pingle, Utilities Director, we sat down and not we, but Hazen sat down and talked with the bidders of the project to figure out why the bids came in so high. And they wanted to figure out what was driving the cost and figure out what was causing difficulty with the project itself. So after talking with the bidders, they've found out that if they eliminate certain coatings, change applied repair material to include protective measurements, allowed modification to techniques, so they're going to be allowed to use shotcrete instead of like hand trialing the concrete onto the repair, and refined bidding quantities, changing repair units from standard feet to cubic feet, and modified construction schedule and sequence requirements were the big changes in the specs and drawings.
Okay. 8's a resolution.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
8's a resolution inviting proposals for the sale of land in the combined Central Sioux City CBD urban renewal area, announcing the intent to accept the proposal of DLG Properties and scheduling a hearing. The property adjacent to 815 West 8th Street. 9's a resolution awarding purchase orders to Boundtree Medical for medical equipment, supplies, and pharmaceuticals for the fire department emergency medical services operation. 10's a motion of reappointing Adam Fullerton to the Historic Preservation Commission. 11's a resolution approving a First Amendment to the development agreement with Westland Property Management property at 1600 Castleman Street. 12 are actions authorizing payments. A is a resolution authorizing payment to Nystrom Electric for the Bridge Light Pole Base Repair Project. B is a resolution approving partial settlement of a claim and authorizing payment. C are resolutions approving fund transfers for June. D is a motion approving claims, total expenses, and receipts for June. 13 are applications for beer and liquor licenses. 14 are beer or board commission and committee minutes. Anyone to be heard on any of that stuff? Any of those items? Passes 15-0. Mr. Moore is absent. 4-0, I mean. 15 is a hearing and resolution approving the plans and specs for the undersized water main. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing is now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 4-0. 16 is a hearing and resolution approving the proposal to sell property and authorizing a deed. Property adjacent to 607 Castleman Street. The petitioners Joseph and Sandra Swick. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing is now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 4-0. 17 is a motion acknowledging the June 25th Board of Adjustment actions. I'll move it.
Second.
I would ask the city attorney, I didn't ask you ahead of time. I don't, I'm not disagreeing with the planning and zonings. I disagree that that's a collector street. I don't know how it can be a collector street for 3 blocks. I've never understood where our planning staff gets that. And so is there a way to remand it back to at least have them review it again?
And I would ask Stephen Pistolka to come up. My understanding is that the council can ask them to take another look at it, but Board of Adjustment actions are final, and the next step would be an appeal to district court.
Well,
The
I
council
probably won't get a
disagrees.
second, but I'd feel a lot better.
Yeah, Stephen Pistolka, City Legal. Nicole summarized it correctly. The council has the authority to either remand it to the Board of Adjustment or to let it sit as it stands. As far as the status of the collector street, I'd have to defer to either Chris or engineering on that.
Correct. Chris Madsen, City Planner. There was a resolution in November of 2021 that did classify this portion of Singing Hills as a collector. That's something that the council did want to look at that to remove that from that resolution. We could bring that back at a later date. But that was the council action that did approve that portion of Singing Hills as a collector street.
But one of these already got changed
Right.
by Board of Adjustment.
Board of Adjustment did review a variance on that site and did deny it.
How did they get a curb cut then without?
Yeah. It was allowed because the petitioner in this case said that they had submitted I forget exactly what type of a plan it was, but
Yeah.
it showed this house on that particular street. They didn't get a building permit for the house, went ahead and dug the basement anyway, but they said they were relying on this plan they submitted. We said, okay, that's fine, but for the future, all these houses, if they're on a collector street, they need to be putting a driveway on not the collector street if that's possible.
Well, and if I remember correctly, too, the plans that were submitted didn't have the driveway, right? Or didn't have the driveway location.
Okay, but Glen Oaks,
There was one set
Glen
of
Oaks
plans that did.
Boulevard is a collector street. Glen Oaks Boulevard's a collector street. We all agree with that?
I believe it is, yes.
And we allow there are some driveways on Glen Oaks Boulevard.
Correct. Those were more than likely constructed prior to the ordinance approval in 2015.
Okay, I'm not a planner. You're a planner. You're a planner. You're all planners but me. But I drive that street, and there are everywhere till you get to the interstate. There are car lots there are car lots. There are residences, all kinds of them, with driveways on that street. So how do you have a collector street that's 3 blocks long? Because I got a hard time understanding what that means. And you're not going to dump the traffic out on Old Lakeport Road. I know your argument. We're going to extend that street someday, and it probably will. But you are never going to dump that traffic out on Old Lakeport Road. It is going to go to the new Lakeport. And in that section, that next 3 block section, there are all kinds of driveways. And there's parking on the street as well, which would not meet your normal definition of a collector street. So I just can't understand how that 3 blocks got to be a collector street.
Well, and it sounds like, at least Chris identified that it was a council action or it was included in a group, I'm assuming, of, what was passed. And so what Chris is saying is we can either bring that back and amend that or change that, or we can send this back to the Board of Adjustment to have them take a look at it. They, of course, can deny it again, and then it would have to go to district court. But to avoid that process, we would just have Chris bring this back and say, no, we
think
could
it
get
is?
justification.
Yes, I'm asking you.
I
I
think
need to
it's fine.
drive out there. I mean, I
You
would
think it is?
No, I think it's fine if we were to approve it. We put one on the corner just not too long ago.
And I mean, I know we voted on it, but we vote on stuff that we don't know.
No, I know, and it was
Right.
it was in a large group. I'm not faulting.
What year was that, Chris?
2021.
or 21.
It was a committee of city staff, Iowa DOT, and Simcoe staff that did group
Yeah.
a number of streets together for classification. That was one of them.
Right.
So we're just enforcing what's in the code
Right.
based
And
off.
sometimes I think we do vote on these things with good intentions.
Right.
And then you find out later, well, that part of it's not really working very well. So I think that we should, whatever we can do that's the most expeditious.
I mean, do you think it's a collector street?
I think it
under a
will act
definition?
as a collector. I think it will act as a collector.
But where do you think it'll dump out to? See, that's the problem for me. I do agree with you. I think it's gonna go over the hill. I think it'll go to the end down there by Fleet Farm somewhere. I agree with that. But where will that traffic dump out to? It won't dump out on Old Lakeport Road, I don't think.
Yeah, it was just that area between Old Lakeport and Elk Creek that was defined. Further to the west, it is a collector currently as well. I think what they looked at was just to extend that classification.
But there are driveways off that.
Correct. That was not a requirement at that time.
So is there any way that we would be able to give just a variance for this one home to be able?
Not without Board of Adjustment. You can't.
The council, the only thing that the council can do today is vote to uphold the Board of Adjustment action. There's only one.
Or remand it back.
Or remand it back, and then there would be a new hearing by Board of Adjustment for consideration at that time. And then whatever the decision would be would come back to council for approval.
But
Well,
I
there was another
understand
direct-
their problem because they're trying to uphold the code.
And that's kind of the issue here too, is so what was before the Board of Adjustment was a request for a variance, right? Which is, I mean, you know, the law is what it is, and Mr. Koskovich is requesting a variance from that law. Okay, that's the
But that's the job of the Board of Adjustment.
It is, but under the standards for a variance are under Iowa state law, and you basically have to show that the property is not economically viable without this variance. I don't think that can be shown here. That's what the Board of Adjustment found anyway. To make the type of change you're saying, I think the actual vehicle to do that would have to be an amendment to the prior resolution or to the code.
That makes
to remove the either to change the collector street designation or to say it's okay to put a driveway on here for some other reason, you know. But if the council just votes today to remand it to the Board of Adjustment, I don't think
It's going to come back
that's
because
necessarily a legal
they're going
decision
to
either.
look
Yeah.
at the state.
Yeah.
Because they're going to look at the state.
Go
So
ahead, Paul.
Is there anything we can do? I mean, if I supply plans that were provided with the address showing on Singing Hills, driveway on Singing Hills, I mean, I can produce that. I mean, I'm not trying to place blame here, but obviously it's an oversight from city staff. And again, I mean, we're just talking one here. I mean, we already got one here. We're gonna have a middle lot between these two houses that can have a driveway on Singing Hills, but this one can't. The bottom line is the plans are approved. We have an address for Singing Hills. These people have been waiting. I mean, it's already tough enough here to build a house, sell a house in this market. And I'm going to lose a sale if we can't get this.
We need your name and address, Paul. Sorry.
Paul Koskovich, 2106 3rd Street.
And I think we're in agreement with you. I mean, we understand where you're coming from. We're just trying to figure out what's the vehicle to be able to make it happen. So.
Right, because he has the same proof as he had the last time on the same corner, the opposite corner. It's the exact same thing. He already had it on the plan. We accidentally missed it. So,
well, I wouldn't say we accidentally missed it. It was more that what happened was plans were submitted showing the driveway onto the collector street, right? After those plans were submitted, that's when the collector street designation was made under the code. That's what stands. Okay. Now, again, if a building permit had been filed before the basement was dug, this issue probably could have been brought to light at the time. Basically, city staff's determination was, okay, there's a kind of reliance argument here from a legal perspective. Okay, we'll let you go this time. We understand it. Okay, and it was made clear at the time that all future houses needed to comply with the current collector street laws.
That makes
so now this one has come forward, and it
makes sense. There's
essentially, I don't think you took a basement this time, but it's
mutual fault, or I mean, grades of that, but. That's fine. I guess then I just need to know as far as direction. I would say we can approve this, but I want to be able to ask for that action to come back to council so we can.
If you approve the Board of Adjustment action today, then it will be denied. So he would be unable to have the curb cut on Singing Hills.
Yeah, but we know that. Yeah.
Right. So if you're wishing to send it or have it revisited.
So then we have to remand and we have to
give direction to staff to have the collector designation revisited. That would be an ordinance that would come back in front of the council.
But why
That could
can't
probably
you
be
just
done
vote this and then
very quickly.
back and change the collector street and then
I guess I would ask Chris procedurally if that creates difficulties.
What's the order?
And because what's in front of you is an appeal to the determination whether this is a collector. Yeah, if you were to uphold the board's actions, that is a collector, but then direct us to bring back either a change to that old ordinance or just a new ordinance that would reclassify the street as a local then the driveway would be allowed.
Right?
I actually
I guess
missed what
we-
you said
do we
too.
vote
So
yes?
I would say it's kind of six and a half
uphold
dozen
this.
the other,
It
but
seems like it.
the point is that if the council wants to allow this, then the ordinance needs to change, I think is the point.
Correct.
The Board of Adjustment
Correct.
doesn't have the authority to approve what Mr. Kosovich
Right. We
requested.
want to allow them to have the driveway.
Correct. But
Right,
what we're
yeah.
asking is, do we
How do we get
approve
to them?
of this
Well,
Board of Adjustment action, or
the Board of Adjustment action is the denial related to Mr.
Correct.
Koskovich's.
so we have to remand it back?
That would be the recommendation. I think the cleanest.
Okay, I'll move to remand it back to the Board of Adjustment.
Second.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
And like recent Supreme Court rulings, Mr. Gleiser, don't get in a hurry because it may change by the time it gets back to you.
And additionally, is there direction to staff to revisit the collector ordinance?
Correct.
Okay.
I would move to have staff revisit or bring back the status of this 3-block roadway to revisit the collector status.
Second.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Andrew Gleiser, Chair of Planning and Zoning and Board of Adjustment. Thanks for the council for your direction. We're just following the letter of the law the way it's written, so we'll see where we go from here.
Sounds
So
good.
that'll be before you, before it comes to us, so,
Oh, yeah.
all right.
So
Thanks.
can we continue? Or can I tell my client we can continue with plans, or what
You
is this?
tell them they're a lot closer than they were yesterday.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, appreciate it, but, I mean, it's been 90 days now so far. I mean, what are we looking at timeframe then for possible completion? I mean, they have a house that they've sold and they have nowhere to live, and they want to know what their next
Right.
step in life is.
When will this go before the board again?
It'd be the next meeting in August to planning or Board of Adjustment, which would be the second Tuesday.
Why would that happen?
But couldn't you bring back the ordinance change quicker?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You could bring the ordinance back to us next
You
week.
repealed the appeal to the Board of Adjustment.
Right, but if we
The point
change
is the
ordinance, it's like the Supreme Court ruling where Trump just got all of the case thrown out today because you changed the rules before it happens, right?
So we're
That's
saying change
law.
the ordinance before it even goes back to Board of Adjustment, and then there's
Then
no
it doesn't
fault.
have to go to Board of Adjustment because you've already.
It's moot.
Or would render the appeal moot, yes.
Chris, did the original collector designation go in front of planning and zoning, or was it straight to the council?
I'd have to check. I believe it went straight to council.
Okay.
I'm guessing.
But the
that's
appeal would still be
engineering.
outstanding.
Does that make
But
sense?
when
by the
that,
board.
but then when they hear their appeal, they're gonna say, well, the council changed, so now we can.
There's no appeal.
Exactly.
We don't have, anyway, there's gotta be a way to do.
Yeah.
So we'll get it in front of council again as soon as possible.
So we'll get to work on an
I
ordinance.
would think once the ordinance is changed, that the appeal wouldn't have any standing anywhere. It'd be,
And it's a moot
Exactly.
It
issue.
wouldn't matter
just be
anymore.
deleted.
All right, we're gonna go to 18.
So
with
yes, it should be
resolution.
probably.
Could I get an email then,
Would it
so I
be-
could forward that to my client? Just give him an update of,
Yeah, well, sure.
yeah.
18 is a resolution approving a development agreement and agreement for maintenance of the stormwater detention system with McDonald's USA for the purchase of land in the combined Floyd River Urban Renewal Area property at 3100 Floyd Boulevard. Somebody else can move this thing.
I'll move that.
Okay, sure.
Passes 3-1, I vote no. Citizen concerns, are there any citizens who want to be heard? Please come to the microphone and state your name and address.
Brandon Dix, 4612 Stone Ridge Parkway, Sioux City, Iowa, 51106. I was up here last week talking about, I am an insurance agent with Farm Bureau, and we were talking about the Riverside situation. First of all, I want to say thank you. You guys have done a lot in the last week. It's amazing the difference between it was what it was last week compared to this week. It's like night and day. Long ways to go, but I know I left early. I had an engagement I had to go to, so I know there was questions that were asked after I left, and I had lunch with Alex on Wednesday, and he told me to come in and kind of go over some of these things. And I guess one of the biggest questions was flood insurance. Who can get it? Who can't get it? Can anybody get it? What's the price? I know somebody threw out something crazy like $9,000 a year. That is false. So, couple things. Anybody can get flood insurance. I live nowhere near a river, a lake. I live up off of Lakeport. And I didn't go to my house. I'm elevated. I live up on Stone Ridge. And for my house, depending on coverages, what I chose, I did a quote at $250,000 for personal property and the dwelling, and I did one at $500,000 for both. And it ranged from $400 to $800.
A month. Oh, a year.
A year,
A year, yeah.
because you're not in the floodway.
Yep, I'm not in a floodway. Now, I've had clients that lived in Whiting, which is a flood zone, and anywhere from 24 to 2,800, depending on the value of the house. Somewhere in the $250,000 to $300,000 range, probably. I'm not going to sit here and say that's how much it is, but it's in that range, right? If you don't live in a floodplain, and you go and we bind a policy for flood insurance, it does not take effect until the 31st day. This kind of alleviates people, oh my gosh, there's a flood coming, I'm going to buy it now.
Right.
It alleviates that whole debacle. So it's a really simple answer. Is yes, anybody can get flood insurance, and is it expensive if you live in a flood zone?
Just out of the floodplain in rural Jefferson, and they were $600 a year, and they were not in the floodplain, but they weren't far from it.
And obviously, here's the thing that a lot of people, if you use FEMA, you are required to carry flood insurance, or you can't use FEMA again. That's just one of their stipulations, right? So, in that sense, a lot of it comes down to, what resources are, and it kind of eliminates people from really abusing FEMA and also the government's help, right? And that's what we kind of want.
Because then they're not protecting themselves yet in the future.
So if you live in a, $300,000 house and you get $60,000 from FEMA, and then you don't go protect yourself again, knowing that you still live 2 blocks away from,
A river or something, yeah.
Or wherever, FEMA's not going to come back and just do it again, right? Because at the end of the day, kind of like the mayor said last week, it still is, at some point, it is tax money.
Right.
It's not
Comes from somewhere.
money that comes out of the air. We're not just going to print money for this. So that's one of those things that, it's very, me and Alex had a really good conversation on Wednesday about, we don't really want river. I don't think anybody would want Riverside to be in a floodplain. Then it's going to get really expensive for those residents, right? So the big thing is, I just wanted to come in, answer any questions. If you guys have questions for me, I know
I kept telling them that because I've sold flood insurance before, but they didn't want to believe me. They said, once you're out of there, you can't buy it. You can buy it on a mountaintop. The higher the hill, the less
Right.
the premium, so.
Correct.
Right.
But I left here. You want to believe how many phone calls I received from here to my next appointment?
Oh, we all handed out your number.
It was mostly people I knew. It was nobody random. But yeah. So yes, anybody can get flood insurance. And if you guys have any questions for me, or if you guys have, I gave Alex my card. I'm pretty easy to find. I'm over on Hamilton, West 28th Street. So, but if you guys have any questions or anything like that, I'll be glad to help anybody with questions or guide people in the right direction. Really, my main goal is just to help people, and so that's
Thank you.
part of that education. So,
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
yep, absolutely.
Appreciate it, Brian.
Anyone else?
Brought some reading material this evening for everybody. This is the code on weeds. I don't know if you guys have looked at it. Pretty short and sweet. There's nothing about residential, commercial, vacant, non-vacant.
The brome grass in here?
Doesn't say grass, doesn't say brome.
Okay.
but, I was here 3 or 4 weeks ago, voiced my displeasures for a ticket we got. I texted 3 of you, got some dialogue from 2 of you. Just want to know what we can do with the city, because I think the spirit of this ordinance is being misused. And I talked to the inspector today. She was really nice. We had a good chat. And after we chatted, she was going to rescind both of our violations.
Because those two were,
Well, because one, she realized it wasn't our property.
right?
And the other one, she said, if there's no weeds in it, then it's okay. And I said, I can assure you there's no weeds.
And that's the brown grass part?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm understanding it too, honestly.
I'm sorry, but I'm fed up. Our properties are very nice places, outside of maybe Elk Creek in some people's eyes. But I can drive around town, I can look at our meetings that look like crap, I can look at city property. I mean, I've been called out other people because that's not my problem. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and tattle on people. That's not my job. I got better stuff to do. But this ordinance is not being applied to properties it should be applied to, and it's being applied to properties that should not be applied to.
I think it's been explained before, but the biggest issue with this, similar to like snow removal, is it's on a complaint basis. And so it's one of those where our inspectors, they don't go out and look for properties to be able to cite. That's not their job. Their job is to respond to people calling in and saying, hey, this property is in violation. I've watched it. I don't want that in my neighborhood. So then the inspector goes out and it initiates that whole process. And it's one of those where I don't disagree with you. I drive by places all the time that drive me crazy. And I'm not the type that I'm going to call in people, for that. I guess sidewalks I probably have before in wintertime because I know how difficult it is for me to get anywhere, and that bothers me. And so, but I understand, and it's a complaint-driven basis, and I think that that's where there's trying to be some balance, and it's not like they're going after you or your property. I think they're just meeting the letter of the ordinance.
But Alex, we cannot drive by private or city-owned properties on the way to our properties and just ignore those because they were reported. That's BS. And the video I showed you, 2 hours down, looks like complete hell. But we still sent a violation to our property and just ignored it 2 doors that way. Unacceptable. I brought the code because I argued with the mayor last time about the code and how it's applied, and I'm sorry, but I don't see anything here. So, I'm complaining right now. I want the lot next to my storage facility mowed. I want to maintain it. I want the properties next to Al Haynes mowed. I want to maintain it. I mean, do you want me to
I sent a text message or an email to Mr. Padmore and said, you better make sure ours are mowed because shouldn't have a different standard. I sent that the day you sent your...
What about the lot south of the expo, right next to the expo? You drive into town, you get past these...
On the other side of Van Meter?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I inquired about that probably 3 or 4 weeks ago because it's got a lot of... Can't forget, I don't remember what the weed is, but we're in the process of leasing that to somebody who's wanted to mow and bale grass on it, even though it's full of weeds. So I did inquire on that one to find out why it wasn't being
there's
taken
no way
care of.
we're going to do everything right.
No, we're not,
my own office about 4 years ago, I have the rock. It's not 10 by 10 in 2 places, and there were 15 weeds that were more than 12 inches, and I got a weed notice. So guess what? I had to kill the weeds. I hired you one year to kill the weeds because I don't want a weed notice, and I don't have enough ground there to worry about anything. But people turn you in. You got to do what you got to do and take care of it. So.
And I know, in my opinion, I would say that city budget is extraordinarily tight. And I'm not saying that any private business or any other entity isn't either, Paul. I understand that. But
If the city cannot police their own house, they cannot go after private citizens or business owners, Alex.
But when you're talking about medians, when you're talking about every other single area, trying to have different areas.
Sioux Falls, beautifully manicured green grass. Yes. The medians on Gordon look like crap. The medians on Hamilton look like crap. And by crap, not just small weeds, over a foot tall weeds. Okay?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And listen, it's not that hard to hire a company to come out and spray the weeds.
No, I know, but to my point then,
Gordon Drive.
is that just takes more taxpayer dollars, and we have to be able to.
Again, we would not be here, I would not be here if I didn't get these silly,
Okay, but what do you want us to do, Paul? Because,
stop setting us violations.
okay, well, we're not going to do that, so
I
that,
wouldn't be here. I could
okay.
go meeting dinner.
Okay, we're not going to sit here and debate this all night, so.
Your point is taken.
We got your point, and we'll work on our end
It
of it.
is, it's taken.
Yes, sir.
One small question.
Okay.
I'm retired and I like fishing.
Name and
Fix the boat ramp.
name and address, please.
Greg Bogart.
At,
128th Street.
I don't know the answer to that.
My understanding, we're trying to get the boat ramp fixed, the flood damage, the large dock and the small dock is somewhat damaged as well. We're trying to get them repaired.
Okay, I just kind of rough idea.
Can we get one in so they can at least get a
Yeah,
small
can I get
boat?
your phone number and we can call you?
Anyone else? Okay, we're going to go to Matthew O'Kane today.
So I just wanted to tout the library really quick. It is like library week, and I can't say that this is an exception. This seems to be the rule with the library, but they've got a week jam-packed with events. So tomorrow they have the True Crimes, the Sioux City True Crime Talk, and that is at 6 o'clock. Wednesday they have guided meditation. Thursday is Smokey the Bear's 80th birthday, and they're partnering with the Sioux City Fire Department. And then Friday they have a teen after-hours karaoke. It seems like, and it is, they have an event every day, and that is just kind of how the library tends to operate. So they've got a lot going on and a lot of great partnerships. So if you haven't stepped into the library this summer, I would definitely say that this is a good week to go take the kids. We've got Rivercade coming up, and our Joint Art Center Board of Trustees meeting are both this week. Rivercade, you're driving, right? So look forward to that. Took yesterday for some self-care. I know we've all spent a lot of time in Riverside, around town, during the cleanup process and trying to be helpful. One thing that I will caution is, I know it's not just me, because I was talking to Councilwoman Shaner before the meeting, and her husband had a bout of this too. Be careful out in the heat. That heat really crept up on us, and we haven't had to deal with it much this summer. I was doing a little bit of yard work so that I won't get a weed notice, and that heat really knocked me off my feet. So be careful if you're spending too much time out in the heat, to take some time to cool off too. And that's everything.
Julie.
I don't have a whole lot. I'm looking forward to the Rivercade Parade. The weather's going to have a little break. I did want to note that, back to talk about the Riverside area, Riverside Lutheran has been providing around 150 or 160 meals every day that they cook on site. Once in a while there's a donation. I know Chick-fil-A and Liberty School, a few people have given Nancy, who's in charge of the food, a break. But she's noticed a decline in the number of folks who are coming out to eat, which is a positive, because that kind of gives us an indication that some folks are either getting back into their home that maybe wasn't damaged quite so badly, or they have found relatives or a friend to stay with, or maybe some temporary housing while they fix their place. But we're still continuing to cook every day, Monday through Friday, be able to get some, well, actually through the weekend. Tomorrow's fajita day, so I can help with that.
Okay. Alex.
I actually don't have a ton today, but Julie was looking at something and talking to me about it, or I messaged her, I forget, earlier. And I know I posted on my social, but I can't find the
I
article.
have it right.
Thank you. Governor Reynolds is freeing up some money for those that were impacted by the flood. And actually, applications opened up today. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so applications opened up today. I believe it's Iowa Grants. I'll try to find the website, but
State Disaster Recovery New Housing.
is the name of it. Yes. Yep. Or rehab. And it's found at iowagrants.gov, and they are now open. There's programs for farmers as well as programs for homeowners. And so it caps the cost of a single-family home at just under $300,000, as well as townhomes and duplexes less than $250K. And it provides eligible homeowners with up to $50,000 for disaster relief for those affected homes suitable for repair. And so I just wanted to get out as many resources to individuals as possible. We have a number of things still available in our community. Again, FEMA will be out there. They'll be doing door-to-door inspections. Please be leery of anyone that is not an official representative of FEMA or some other capacity, because there are people that will want to take advantage of you in this desperate time. So please be cautious of that. But I would also encourage you to, if you haven't, apply for the Siouxland Recovery Fund. There's also a form that you can fill that out. I believe it's also online, but I don't know that website. But you can Google the Siouxland Recovery Fund. It's through the United Way. That does not have an income cap, and so you can apply for relief through that as well. So please take advantage of those if you were affected by the flood, because we are certainly doing everything that we can as a city and as a community to make you whole, but understand that this is a big undertaking. So I just wanted to bring that up. So I appreciate the help with that, Julie. I have nothing further.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Water.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.